So my name's Elizabeth McGeoch. I'm doing task 2, question 2.2 of CIPD, and I'll be conducting an interview today for the food and beverage assistant role. Good morning. Welcome to today's interview for the food and beverage assistant role position at Interlux Hotel Group. My name's Elizabeth, and I'll be your people advisor. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Before we begin, I'd like to outline how this interview will be structured. So first, I'll provide you with some background of the job and our expectations. Then we'll go through some of the questions to assess your skills. Going through these questions, be assessing your past experience, and then there'll be any opportunity to ask questions at the end. So obviously, you've read the job description, and we're looking for someone who's passionate about delivering customer service. Works well in a team, has good communication skills, and can deal with a fast-paced environment of hospitality. Obviously, it involves working with food and drink, maintaining high standards. So if you have any questions before you begin or during the questions, please let me know.
Yeah, no problem.
So could you tell me a bit about yourselves firstly, some background information?
Yep, so I'm currently working in a seafood restaurant. This is a step up I got my first job in a pub when I was 15, and that, I'm not going to lie, was quite poorly managed. We were understaffed, too many customers, and I needed a change, so I switched to dining. The seafood restaurant at the minute is more focused on, it's quite a small place, so we're quite customer focused. It's not too fast paced, but it can be in peak seasons. But I really enjoy working there. I get on with my team really well. But to be honest, I'm just looking for more opportunities to step up. I want to do more courses. I want to travel more. So I'm really looking to expand my knowledge, and I turned to the Interlux Hotel Group because I really like your values on valuing your employees, and it just seemed like a really good opportunity.
Perfect, thank you. So first question, could you describe a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer in the food and service environment?
Yeah, so actually, when I first started my job at the pub, I was carrying a tray of drinks and I spilled a pint of dark fruit cider over a man in a white t-shirt, and as you can imagine, it didn't go down too well. He was really angry. I think it didn't help as well that he was already quite drunk, but started making a scene. I was quite upset because I was only 15 at the time, and I cried. But the manager came over and he calmed me down, calmed the customer down, and I would say that's probably my first experience with a difficult customer. It kind of took me by surprise actually how difficult some people can be, and obviously it was an accident, but he just wasn't very understanding. But I think from that situation I kind of learned that it's important to diffuse the situation by first tackling the upset employee and then dealing with the difficult customer. But yeah.
So what did you learn from this situation? How, if you experienced it again, what would you do differently?
Well, firstly, I probably wouldn't cry just because that didn't really help. I mean, I know that you can't help it, but you need to focus more on apologising to the customer, get him another drink, get your manager over, just to sort of calm the situation down. But obviously, I think the learning point from that is maybe don't carry a lot of drinks on one tray down a set of steps. It doesn't usually end well, apparently.
Yes. So thank you for that question. So next one, have you ever worked in a team to resolve a customer complaint?
I suppose, yeah, referring back to the previous scenario, I mean, it was me, my manager, a lot of other guys helped out, sweeping the broken glass up, making sure that he wasn't too loud and disrupting people's experience. They kind of took him out and just said, look, calm down, we'll get you another drink, we'll sort this out. But it was actually the team effort that got me through that. If I had to deal with that by myself, I probably would have quit right then. So I think it just goes to show how important teamwork is when dealing with challenging situations.
Yeah. What would you say, like, your responsibilities in that situation were? Like, working in a
I
team?
think taking accountability in that situation, it was my fault. I think I needed to apologise. Obviously, I needed to get him a new drink, apologise to other people on the table that it's affected, and also other customers around. So I think my role was sort of, stepping up, taking accountability, and actually learning, to be honest, because nothing like that had ever happened before. And it was a learning curve in that I won't carry multiple drinks on a tray, and I'll take more caution, I think, when delivering drinks and things.
Yes. So, next question. Could you think of a time when you had to assist a colleague during a busy period?
Yeah, so now at the seafood restaurant, we hired a new person just for the summer period. They were at uni, they came home for the summer and just wanted to earn a bit of like money on the side. So they'd not had any previous experience. It was quite a big responsibility training someone to work in quite a high-end restaurant with no experience. So I think it was just training new people, making sure that they were calm in busy periods, because it can get quite overwhelming when the restaurant's really busy. People are running about, tables are getting forgotten potentially. So you have to make sure that the new hire they've got the foundations of customer service, they good time management, punctuality, enthusiasm, customer service. And I wouldn't say there was a specific example at the minute where I've had to assist them, but I think it is just assisting them through the process of getting to learn the job role.
Yeah. How do you think, helping, this uni student who was, new to the role helped you?
I think it made me learn more about myself in a way, and actually when you realise that you have the ability to teach someone else, it makes you realise how good you are at your own job, I think, in a way. To think that I was trusted by management to, mentor a new person into a new job role. I think it's also helped me see customer service through a fresh set of eyes where they haven't, previously had bad experiences. I think it's really helped with that, and just getting to know new people as well has made me just realise how much I like working in customer service.
Thank you. Have you ever had a disagreement with a colleague while working in hospitality?
I wouldn't say it was really a disagreement. I remember last summer, these two people got double booked. So we booked a table for a group of 6, but that a different group turned up. So it was literally 2 groups of 6 people wanted the same table, and that was due to somebody's error. Obviously, I know they didn't mean to do it, so I wouldn't really say it was a disagreement, but I think from that, it was quite obvious that this person needed to, check their procedures, make sure they're doing things right, because that did cause a lot of problems that night, and it was quite stressful. But I'd say that's probably the only issue I've ever had with another colleague was just on that night I was quite stressed. I might have said, got angrier than I should have, but it was just kind of heat in the moment kind of thing. And I, have learned from that to, be more calm in situations where it might be quite stressful.
Thank you. You answered the next question as what did you learn from it? So I'll move on to the next one. Could you provide an example of when you had a tight deadline and how you managed that situation?
That's a good question. Tight deadline. I suppose it is just kind of when I used to work at this busy pub, we were on the river. These people used to hire out day boats, and obviously they'd have like a 2-hour turnaround time where they had to return the day boat. But we were awfully busy during this period, and you'd get these situations where someone would forget to put a ticket in the kitchen and their food wouldn't be out in time, but they'd have to return the boat, and it was quite chaotic, I think. But yeah, from that we've had to ensure our time management's more efficient. So we sort of prioritize these people who are on boats, bigger parties perhaps, making sure they've actually got everything they need. They've had time for starter, main, dessert, because they should all be able to have the same dining experience, whether they've got a tight deadline or not. But I'd say it's probably an experience I've had with tight deadlines. Obviously, in busy periods, we used to have our tables would still have a 2-hour turnaround time. So it's all about getting drinks out, keeping them happy whilst they're waiting for their food, and ensuring that they can fit their perfect dining experience within the 2-hour time period. So yeah.
Would you say you were able to maintain your standards during this?
Not as much as I would have liked to, but I think that's just because I lacked experience at that time. Whereas now, I think it's important. I realise the importance of maintaining standards even when you are busy or if you've got a 2-hour turnaround time. But I think the main thing is just to ensure that you're professional, calm, friendly, because people will always have patience with you if you update them on the situation. So, if someone's food is going to be a bit late, just go over and let them know, because that way they can't really complain too much. Obviously, ideally they wouldn't have a long wait for their food, but sometimes we just can't help it in situations like that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good answer. Have you ever had a situation where there have been unexpected challenges while serving guests?
I think probably, again, referring back to the example of the double booking tables, we didn't expect 2 tables of 6 to turn up, one in the same table. But to take initiative in this situation, we rearranged the room sort of with the availability that we had, just to ensure that there was another free table for these people. And in the end, we were able to serve them. So it was an unexpected challenge, but we overcame it as a team. But yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
How would you say you worked in a team to get that challenge?
Well, initially there was a lot of panic. People were stressed out, getting annoyed at each other that this even happened in the first place. But it was important to remember that these people are at the door, they're waiting. We've got to figure out a solution. So we rearranged the tables with the availability that we had. We moved some 2-man tables, pushed them together. We were able to accommodate this table of 6, and actually they left a really good tip at the end of the night. So it just goes to show that you can overcome what seems unlikely in the moment. You can actually overcome it, and if you work together as a team, you've got a strong team going, anything is possible.
Perfect, thank you. So could you tell me about a time when you had to follow strict food and hygiene standards?
So in the first pub I worked at, it was like a B&B type thing. So the breakfast was laid out as a buffet, sort of a help yourself kind of thing. And you're trusting the public to ensure that they're not cross-contaminating. So a lot of the procedures with that was just to constantly monitor the buffet, make sure nothing, the meat wasn't touching veggie options, because a lot of people, obviously vegetarian, don't want meat touching their veggie food. But constant washing, making sure the food was hot enough so that it wasn't sitting around lukewarm, collecting potential bacteria. So it was a lot of swapping and changing, cleaning utensils, and making sure things were hot. But yeah, it's important that obviously food hygiene standards are maintained at all times, because you don't want to cause diseases, or you want to make sure customers have a good experience.
Perfect, thank you. So could you describe a time when you received constructive criticism at work?
I think maybe in my first couple of years of working in food, I think at the time I was focusing quite a lot on being friendly. I'd stand around, have a chat, and as it's nice to have a chat with people. But my colleague said to me, "Look, you need to start actually having a conversation, but then also doing work alongside it." So I was standing there 20 minutes having a chat, and yeah, they sort of just said, it's nice that you're doing that, making customers feel welcome. You know, you need to actually do some work and maybe start running some drinks out and stuff. So yeah, that's probably it. I mean, yeah, I was just being friendly, but I think it's just chatting
Yeah.
too much.
So how did you take the criticism, and what did you do with it?
So I took it on quite well. I understood, you know, I can get carried away if someone's having a good conversation. But yeah, I took it on well because obviously I was quite new there and they've been there longer than me. I always tend to look up to people with more experience just because, you know, they know what they're talking about. So from that point onwards, I was able to do more with my time, you know, able to maybe lay a table whilst having a conversation or, you know, run some drinks out and whilst you're laying the drinks out, carry on talking. You know, you don't have to stand there and you can multitask, I think is the point I'm trying to make. Um, it's quite important when you're working in food and customer service, just because you're constantly running about doing different jobs. You've got to have the ability to multitask. So, yeah.
Perfect. So could you provide an example of when you had to quickly resolve a problem when serving a customer?
Um, Apart from the examples I've given, you know, with the drink that I spill on someone, um, I think, oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that um, it was just important to clean up as quick as possible, just to diffuse the situation. Um, but yeah, I think it's just the main two I've already said. You know, the spilling the drink and when the tables turned up that were unexpected. Um, Obviously, we had to think of a solution quite quickly. Like I said, we rearranged the room, made sure there was room to accommodate them, and took it from there. But that's probably the only two examples I've got.
Would you say this challenged you?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, because it was unexpected. We were busy already. We really didn't need any more issues. But I would say, as a team, we all learned from it quite significantly. Didn't happen again, actually. The person who double booked, you know, made sure they thoroughly checked every time they were taking bookings that they weren't already booking them on a table that had been pre-booked. Um, but yeah, no, I would say it was definitely challenging. But yeah, a learning experience.
Perfect. And then the final question, have you ever used your knowledge of the hospitality industry to improve a customer experience?
Yeah, so obviously I started working at the seafood restaurant quite recently. I've never really had to advise on pairing, you know, wine with different types of fish. Um, and I think, you know, when people ask for recommendations, um, you know, they rely on their waiting staff to have a background knowledge. And I was able to deliver that, but that was due to my experience and my knowledge of hospitality that I was able to deliver um, and ensure that the customers, you know, had a appropriate drink with their meal. And you pay, I think, for that service as well within the meal prices. You kind of expect as, you know, part of the dining experience. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's all the questions wrapped up for today.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and we really appreciate your answers and responses, and especially for getting this far during the process. Obviously, you will be shortlisted as one of the interview candidates, whether you get the position or not. So before we wrap up the interview, do you have any questions regarding, for the team, for the company, for myself?
Well, I did mention at the start of the interview that I was looking to expand my knowledge on courses, perhaps travel a bit more. Um, I'm not sure what the opportunities to travel abroad are like, as I know that you're a multinational hotel group. I wasn't sure whether there'd be opportunities to volunteer elsewhere.
Uh,
Well,
Yes, obviously, as you stated, we're a multinational hotel industry, so we do have other roles across the countries. However, obviously, if you do get this role, we'd require you to stay in for a minimum of a year or two just to get,
okay.
your footing. But obviously, you can speak to your management after that to see if you're
Hmm.
able to, go away, even whether it's for a few months or for, an actual position elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I always like asking this, but what's your favourite thing about working at Interlux Hotel Group?
So I think it's it's quite diverse. background, you know, we've got quite a lot of people, you know, you get new experiences every day. Every day is another, you know, experience. So I think, you know, if you do get the job here, it's very much you can make it as you will, and you know, you
Yeah,
can get as
definitely.
much as experience and qualifications as you like. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
So do you have any other questions?
No, that's it from me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thanks.